I guess that means we're live. Good. Actually, this is a little bit premature. Show starts at 5 o'clock, so just a few minutes. But I guess that means we're live. Good. But for anybody who's watching the archive recording of the show, just so that you know, there's a bit of preamble because a few folks tune in early or get to the page early and wonder where the show is. So I figured I'd start streaming it a bit early and then actually start proper at 5. And so that's just a few minutes' time. So if you are watching the archive, you might want to fast forward about 3 minutes to get to the beginning of the show. Cheers. Yeah, let's have a good show. And there you go. All right, God bless you. One, two, da-de-da, da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello? Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit, live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit, coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, two, da-de-da, da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello? Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit, live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit, coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, two, da-de-da, da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello? Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit, live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit, coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, two, da-de-da, da. Oh, seems to be working. Hello? Oh, look at that. One, two, okay. Da-de-da. Oh, yeah, da. We'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit, live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit, coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. One, two,
Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. Seems to be working. Hello? Oh, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, we'll be right with you. Hold on. Daily Brexit, live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Daily Brexit, coming up shortly.
Live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m.
Live at 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Daily Brexit, yes, coming up soon.
Daily Brexit. I mean, oh blimey, we're on already. Hey folks, I'll tell you, it's so hot here in Valencia, Spain. I am absolutely... Yeah, welcome to the Daily Brexit. Holding democracy to account, fighting for self-determination, and exposing plutocracy. I'm Olly Connelly. Welcome to the show. And today's show, Behind the Curtain. What's the EU really about, Alfie? And who's pulling the strings? Super activist Alan Ashwood is here, a well-known face here on Facebook, wading in, state deep, here on Daily Brexit. And my sometimes sidekick, Mr. Piers Garnham, is joining us too. As can you, by the way. Hey, please, crack into those real-time comments on Facebook. And in the comments on the live post itself, which you must be watching to be watching this, you can see how you can call into the show too. Actually, I haven't posted it up yet, so I will post it as a comment. Oh, that's enough of that for crying out loud. Piers, how are you doing? What's going on? Did Conta lost, didn't she? Yeah, I suppose you've been watching the Wimbledon.
Yeah, I was watching Wimbledon, yeah, and she lost, yeah.
She lost. Venus won.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a foregone conclusion, really.
I don't know, but hey,
I never expected her to beat Venus Williams. I mean, Venus is just too powerful for
full marks for trying. Yeah, I reckon she's going to do what Murray did when he kept losing and kind of go away and train like mad and come back. You know, could well be a champion, no? Joanna Konta.
Well, she's 26 now, so I think she would have done it if.
She's past it. Too late.
I mean, she's still got a few years of tennis in her, but I don't think she's ever going to be a winner of a major tournament. I mean, she just hasn't got that skill. I mean, she's played well this tournament, and she did very well to get to the semi-finals. But and she's a very likable girl. But yeah, I mean, when you're up against behemoths of strength like Venus, then you're.
All right, okay, that's enough of that. Right, let's have a look at the papers. Cheers, Piers. Right, we've got a very intriguing angle on this whole kind of Russians under the bed type story going on in the States, at least on CNN and NBC and all that. Obama, DOJ, the Department of Justice, let the Russian in. Mystery surrounds this character with an unpronounceable name, which should surely be on a scoreboard at Wimbledon. McCain wanted dirt on Trump from the foreign spy, apparently, as well. So let's have a quick look at that, because this is very, very intriguing what's going on here. According to The Hill, this is an exclusive. The Department of Justice let Russian lawyer into the US before she met with Trump team. Now, as you know, you might wonder, hey, what's this got to do with Brexit? But it's all part of this kind of massive fight going on behind the scenes between...
Well, not even behind the scenes. I mean, Trump's called it the biggest witch hunt in history. I mean, I don't like Donald Trump, and I'm not keen on some of his policies or Jeff Sessions' policies. You know, I think they should legalise all drugs in the States, as they should in Europe as well, and the UK. But I do think that he is having a witch hunt launched against him, and they're literally pulling anything they can. I mean, it's showing severe desperation on the part of.
It does look pathetic. I mean, I feel sorry for the Democrats stateside, because they just look inept. They've got no leadership. I mean, who are they putting up for the next election? I imagine that's what their supporters would like to know. And anybody that really takes democracy seriously would want to see that there's a strong opposition. Sorry, Piers. Sorry.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson wants to go into politics, doesn't he? I'm assuming he'd be.
The Rock. Yeah.
He'd be a Democrat. You know.
Probably.
He's got bigger muscles than Hillary.
yeah. Well, it's him or Arnie, but Arnie couldn't. He was deemed foreigner or something.
I think one thing Trump said that was interesting. He was talking about how he wasn't going to tolerate any kind of paedophiles, and I think the world is essentially run by a network of paedophiles.
Okay, Piers, blimey, all right. I'll tell you what. Talk about getting straight into it. Okay, let's try and. We will. I dare say, be getting into this.
The Democratic National Congress is so desperate to try and impeach Trump because he's going to expose so many of them for being what they are, a bunch of old perverts. You know?
Okay, all right. Look, I'm not sure about this news wrap at the top of the show. I'll try and improve it. I'll keep working on it and what have you. But in the meantime, let me introduce our main guest for today. God bless him. We've got Alan Ashwood here. Now, Alan Ashwood. Oh, hold on a sec. That's the wrong one. There's my guest. Now, Alan Ashwood. He has worked in all sorts of fields. He's been very successful as a senior manager with British Airways, stuff like that. He's run his own business, various businesses, what have you. So he's got an entrepreneurial head on his shoulders. This EU business, he started researching it in about 2010. So not that long ago, but my word, I tell you, he knows a few things, and this is going to be a fascinating conversation with him, I know. He started publishing about his findings, his research in 2014. And a lot of us in this kind of position, in this kind of similar boat. So it's really fascinating to share notes about how networking and all that side of it and how we can sort of pull together and all that. Really, really chuffed to have him. He's got two very, very successful groups on Facebook, which a lot of you watching, I know, are in those groups. Britain's Against the EU, where he has 12,000 folks in that group, and Britain's United, where he has 33,000 folks in that group. So clearly, there's a lot of people, just from one guy, using his initiative, realizing that there are some serious concerns with this political project, the European Union, trying to bring it to the attention of other people and really making a dent. Alan Ashwood, thank you very, very much. I'm really chuffed that you've come on the show.
Hi, guys.
How are you, sir? Are you sweltering there? I'll tell you what, I've got to be wiping my breath throughout this show here, I'll tell you.
I thought you installed some air conditioning in your flat.
I did, but I can't have it on in my study because my computer is a radiator. It's a beast and it's a radiator, and it's you can't have one and the other. It's ridiculous. So I just try to be good, sweat it out, and then I go in the lounge where the aircon is working and chill off a bit. But yeah. Alan, what do you think about this whole Russian malarkey going on stateside? This big sort of, as Trump said, and I used the word witch hunt the other day on my timeline referring to this. Do you agree that there is a link between what's going on in the States and what's going on in Europe?
Absolutely. That's something that people don't realise, the majority of people don't realise. The pattern that's going on in the USA is identical to ours, using different countries, the mass immigration and so on, except that maybe Trump, I'll keep a reservation on it, maybe Trump is going to clean the swamp. But over here, we haven't done that. We've re-elected the same bog dwellers that were in there beforehand. So we're up against it much harder in the UK.
Well, I mean, at least we get a chance to vote. I mean, the EU presidents, who didn't take part in any of the referendum debates, by the way, and you may well ask yourselves why, none of them, we didn't get a chance to elect them at all. I mean, that's anti-democratic, isn't it? As opposed to, at least in the, yeah, okay, we keep throwing in the usual losers, and when they're finally completely spent, like Neil Kinnock, then we send them off to Europe and they make £1 million. But the fact is that we do at least have a chance to change our democracy, and slowly perhaps, but that is gathering pace, and that has gathered pace, whatever you think about it, with, for example, UKIP and the prominence with the Greens, for example, a little bit more of a push for PR, no?
The Greens, you have got to be joking.
I'm talking about democracy. I'm not talking about policy.
Okay. You really want to think that the past 3 years has seen any real democracy? Because what we've been electing are people hiding behind the rosettes. And it doesn't matter what colour that rosette is. You were not electing a Tory, a Labour, a UKIP, an SNP, a Green whoever.
Okay, all right. We're straight into behind the curtain. I like that. Perfect segue. Thank you. You are a good guest, Alan, on the pulse. Right. So, for example, let's look at some of these characters. Jeremy Corbyn, is he not a straight-up socialist? Is he actually not a true Labour man? Whatever you think of his policies, at least is he not, well, honest might be a strong word, but is he not at least being relatively frank with the kind of folks that would vote for Labour? As opposed to, say, Tony Blair, who I never understood what on earth he was doing in the Labour Party. I thought he was a Lib Dem, really.
Toxic Blair, we'll come to him.
We will.
Unfortunately, when the four candidates stood for the leadership of the Labour Party, I went on Facebook publicly against the tide, which is a habit of mine, and I said out of the final selection of the four, he was the best of a bad bunch. This won't be popular, but I'll stand by that. And the reason is that the three vermin who are standing against him are much more dangerous to democracy than he is. Now, having known...
Hold on a sec, sorry. Are you talking about Corbyn here?
Huh?
Are you talking about Jeremy Corbyn here?
I'm talking about Jeremy Corbyn there. I don't know where here is, unless he's in yeah, Jeremy Corbyn, by history, by his reputation as an individual, is an honest, decent, reasonable...
Marxist. Sorry.
Policies that... No, they're not his policies anyway. He's not writing them. All these scripts have been written by others, which we'll get to, I hope. But the coup at Glastonbury was brilliant. It was stunning.
It was incredible. I can't believe that the BBC basically assisted a party political broadcast.
No, well, that's a farce anyway. But from the point of view of...
And Evis.
People, it was an absolute coup. Because young people of that age group are idealists. They believe in peace, love, open borders, all living peacefully together.
Yep, I did.
No wars, no weapons. It all sounds...
Well, I still believe that bit.
Yeah, well, so would I, idealistically. I'm an ex-socialist. You know, I don't come from the right wing at all. I knew John Smith, Tony Benn, and others, and people that now are around Corbyn.
Yes.
When 11 days after he switched the policy from 26 years of canvassing against the European Union, strongly canvassing against the European Union, 11 days in, he switched to being pro-EU. The only thing that says to me is he was got at.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Can you elaborate on that, please, Alan? In what way has he now been endorsing the EU?
He's made the policy, open policy, from the 11th day. I don't think he did it willingly. I'll be honest about that. I don't think he's doing any of this willingly.
Okay, yeah.
Policy of the EU, he reversed 26 years of campaigning against the EU and put the Labour Party, for what it is, down on the side of being pro-EU, and therefore a Remain campaign ensued from there on. I don't think Jeremy Corbyn, if you look at his speeches, particularly validated that, but he put the party behind it and all the other suck-ups behind him actually kept it going. They kept the momentum going. I don't think Jeremy Corbyn did particularly, but I was absolutely gutted when he did that. And whatever pressures were brought on him to do that, I'd love to have...
Well, this is where you've got this network of globalists, as you say, in all the parties. The differentiation between in-party, it's not real. The majority of politicians working in each of these parties represent the globalist interests, and the globalists are, the EU is a globalist project. Yeah, it's all about, and they're all on the globalist payroll. So, there is no real difference. I mean, this issue.
My word, I'll tell you what, guys, the comments are just flowing in here. Hey, Chris Ford. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Sherry. Hi, Linda. Hi, Margaret. Look, we got some comments here as well. We got Christopher Baxter. We know that legalization would, this is drugs that Piers made the point, would significantly cheapen the price of cocaine, cannabis, and heroin, making them more accessible and therefore increasingly addictive. Additionally, allowing drugs to be sold on the open market implies that we would allow the sale of highly dangerous drugs such as crack and metamorphosis by multinational conglomerates. I don't know that I agree with that, I got to say. But nonetheless, that is a valid point that does need to
it would actually make
part of the debate.
Getting addicts off the stuff, decriminalising the whole thing, not sticking them in prisons, in private prisons in the state, where they become a slave labour force, which is
all right. Okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have read that out. Really, I should have read. Look, okay, sorry, Alan. Carry on. All right. So you're saying Corbyn basically has been gotten at. Let's take an example that maybe we have a little bit more circumstantial evidence about, or certainly more allegations, and that would be a certain Tony Miranda Blair. Now, there are allegations about what are his middle names? Charles Linton. His full name is Tony Charles Linton Blair, and at university, it is alleged that I know my libel lawyer, that he was a cross-dresser. He answered to the name of Miranda, and he was very bad at playing the guitar. And the thought process about a lot of the Oxbridge-type characters that then end up in the Commons or in positions of power is that they are lent on for their, if you like, youthful indiscretions at Cambridge or whatever, Oxford, and they are lent on by MI5 as people, they're told, hey, we can give you a nice cushy life and all the rest of it. You just do as you're told. And so we're getting into sort of secret society type stuff. We will be getting into some of that Club of Rome type conversation. I'm sure we'll be talking a bit more about that. But is that not a good example, a better example than Corbyn, for example, of somebody who, amazingly, this guy who didn't look anything like Michael Foot when he was campaigning in that old video footage, Beaconsfield constituency all those years ago, didn't look anything like the socialist leader. And yet he was pumped up, ultimately to take over from the late, great, I thought, John Smith. Alan. Spa. What have I done? Have I cut them off? Piers? Oh, no. Oh, what have we done? I cannot hear my guests. And apparently this call has gone down. So I'm going to make the call again, guys. I will make the call again. And so please bear with me. I don't know. I guess I got so excited. The whole thing just blew up. But we have a way around this, I hope. And actually, it looks as though we do have a call. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. This is kind of using Facebook Live plus a bunch of other software to mix in video, audio, and stuff. This is using this pretty much to the extreme. Here's Alan. Are you there?
Yes.
Not here. I'm hiding.
Alan. Okay, lovely. Look, I was using this kind of Tony Blair. So apparently the story goes that he was busted as Charles Linton for some kind of exposure in a public, toilet type thing, something like that. But it's never come to the fore because he used his middle names. Now, I don't know the truth of that, but I do know that he's never sued over it in the way that, say, for example, Ken Clarke did sue over those allegations with that Daniel bloke. But Tony Blair didn't. Is he not a very strong suspect for the kind of character that is brought in by, say, MI5 or these kind of secretive societies that are way back in the shadows, basically plutocratic vehicles to enact policy? And is he not a puppet that quite possibly has been brought in because of his own malevolence or, well, just silly indiscretions when he was a kid.
Are you now talking about Blair?
Yeah. Because I don't think Corbyn quite fits that mould. I haven't seen any allegations about him, but I've seen quite a few about Blair, for example.
Wrong putting them in the same basket because they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Corbyn, to all intents and purposes, is basically a moral guy. He's a good bloke. He's a guy who'd have run for a cup of tea and chat.
Yeah.
But he's one of the school. He's a Benite. He's one of the cast of John Smith, who was, in my opinion, the last real Labour of a Labour Party.
I agree with you. Yeah.
But look what happened to John Smith. Oh.
Well, I wonder what did happen to him, but that's another story.
That made room for Blair to march in.
Very convenient heart attack.
I was in a peripheral way, because I was a campaign manager and all sorts of unpaid jobs, by the way, for the Labour Party and for the SDP in those days.
Yep.
I'm guilty, folks. I voted for Tony Blair.
Good
once.
God. Yep. So did I once. Hands up. Blood on my hands. Iraq, yeah?
That's a side issue. It's an important one, but it's a side issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I voted for him 3 times. Voted for him once, but then I saw within the Labour Party what happened. And basically, it was taken over by a bunch of gangsters, which you and I know, Ollie, go by a certain name, which I'm hoping somebody will bring into the conversation.
Yeah.
And that is actually the exposure. People are under the impression, the general public are under the impression, they're voting Labour, they're voting Conservative, they're voting whoever. And the whole thing is a farce, a total farce.
I totally agree.
Even this snap election by Daisy May, it was contrived to reduce the majority in the House of Parliament.
I totally agree. She's a double agent and she's still a globalist and she's still working to try and achieve...
The puppet. She's in the same degree as Gordon Brown and John Major. The boss moves aside, they get a puppet in, they get a puppet to stick their neck on the line. And Gordon Brown signed the Lisbon Treaty. Major signed the Maastricht Treaty, which is the one that gave our sovereignty away. And now Daisy May could be dragged into signing the 5 Presidents Treaty, which is an extension of the Lisbon Treaty.
She's just overlooked Jacob Rees-Mogg for a key job to do with Brexit as well. And he's probably one of the only, he's one of the handful of senior sort of pro-Brexit Tories that exist out there. And she's turned him down for a major key role and put in somebody who was pro stay in the job. We're had here. I mean, we really are.
Look, Linda Fox has just said it. Bilderbergers. Yeah, okay, all right. We got the big B word in. Yeah, we can discuss that now. Let me just go through a few comments, and we'll come to this from a different angle. Premisal Vacek. I hope I pronounced your name right, sir or madam. I'm not sure, to be honest. Oh, come on, Jeremy Corbyn, a good guy. He's been lying, dirty scum, who doesn't care about people at all. All he does is virtue signal and tries to get the UK into more debt and poverty. Okay, well, yeah. Alan, you never voted Blair. Blimey, Margaret Painter is most upset with you, and probably with me too now. Christopher Baxter, British people are normally among the most tolerant, generous people in the world. Being ridden roughshod over by a minority and their own government is only ever going to lead to trouble. It's sad, but it's kind of inevitable. Debbie Shaw, Blair is the worst traitor. He signed off the treason laws for a good reason. That's right. He got rid of the treason law. That's right. And then went into Iraq. And to ensure I think he did it after Iraq, actually. Maybe. Anyway. Sorry, Alan, carry on.
Back to the comment made by Mr. Butchek.
Yes.
He says, Jeremy Corbyn's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. Right, you've got to disassociate what you're being shown politically against knowledge of the individual. I know that Jeremy Corbyn is basically, underneath it all, in the past, is an honest, open, decent, peace-loving, genuine individual, even if he's a radical left-winger. That's kind of irrelevant.
Sure.
But he's been got at, Mr. Vacek. And he's been... I don't think he's joined this Bilderberg group. I think he's one of the ones that hasn't joined, but he's been controlled by the Bilderberg group.
Okay, I think it's important now that we just maybe explain a little bit what is the Bilderberg group, because I know we're going off on tangents a little bit here, but we will try and piece this back together. Piers, can you explain to us, please, what is the Bilderberg group?
Without wishing to sound sort of supercilious or I think the majority of, our listeners will already have a handle on what the Bilderberg group is.
You're right.
I mean, it's just a group of the heads of corporations, banks, royalty, a lot of politicians. They all turn up to an annual meeting at a hotel somewhere in the world and have an off-the-record chat that's never published in any of the mainstream media outlets. So we don't know what's said. It's basically a steering committee to decide the agenda, the global agenda annually. So that the people like Cameron and Osborne used to get summons to these events.
That's right. Cameron famously refused to disclose the minutes of his conversation with Henry Kissinger when Bilderberg was at Watford a few years ago.
Excuse me. Sorry. I think you're underplaying these people. You just said they have an annual meeting, chit-chat, cup of tea, nice biscuits, and they come up with a global policy. That's very, very glib.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. They are a bunch of gangsters.
Who do you think is running the European Union?
Oh, well, they are.
Bilderbergs.
Yeah, the globalists. I mean,
No, get away from this word globalist. That's over-politicising. You keep it simple for the people. Help the people understand. I only care about the people. I don't talk to the well, I do. I talk to politicians, academics, all the rest of it. I'm only interested in the people of this country who are being abused, misdirected, deceived. That's been my job.
Here. I agree with you.
That's why I've got 72,000 followers. I don't like the word followers. Allies.
Allies.
They're allies.
Quite right.
Because I've been disclosing what every single political party has been hiding. And they hid it up to the general election. They hid it up to the referendum. They were briefed. Even UKIP, people are supposed to be on our side, even UKIP.
What do you mean? What have they been hiding, Alan?
If you go to Britain's United, you'll find 3 years of information. Absolutely tons of information. Do any of the political parties ever talk about foreign?
Just in brief. But you're basically talking about the plan for really the control grid to consume Europe, no? The EU.
Right.
Ever closer integration.
Yeah.
Ever less
it's all by
personal
design.
rights.
They're flooding Europe with people from, radically different, cultures and religious backgrounds deliberately to discombobulate the populations of France, Germany, Italy, Spain, wherever. So they lose their national identity, which makes the homogenization process and to turn Europe into a corporate global superstate, that much easier. That's why they're doing it.
So what we're basically saying here, I think we're all on the same, singing from the same hymn sheet.
Right.
Is that whoa, Alan? Just let me get this out. Well, what we're basically saying, to summarise, is that we vote for Tory or Labour or maybe Lib Dem or whatever, and then we actually get Bilderberg. We get, instead of getting Tony Blair in power or Theresa May in power or maybe one day Jeremy Corbyn in power, for example, we're actually getting Henry Kissinger in power. We're getting the Rothschilds banking family in power. We're getting... Whoa, Alan, please don't talk over me, because otherwise people can't hear either of us. We're getting George Soros in power. We're getting... There's about 8 or even 6 people now that hold the equivalent wealth of about half the rest of the population of this planet. I mean, it's just crazy. And the Bilderberg and the Club of Rome and the Atlantic thing and all these various groups are put there to devise and to dictate policy. Is that and everything else? This whole democracy thing that we reckon we've got in the UK, for example, or to a lesser extent in the EU, actually it's just a smokescreen. Is that what we're saying?
Can I actually get a word in now?
You can get several in.
Any of my followers, any of my long-term followers, you've just told them what they already know. That's been my job.
I don't know that everybody will know that's watching this show, though. And I think it's important to give a bit of a foundation.
Clive Cooper, Debbie Shaw, Min Ellen Davies, Linda Fox, 4 names. They all know because they've been allies of mine for a long time. All these people know. So you go into a long-winded description when you're on page 9 of the book, and your colleague, your buddy, Piers, is on page 12 maybe. I'm on page 25, for God's sake.
Yeah, but
I've been doing.
Okay, to be honest with you, Alan, I'm interested in what the average page is for the average bloke out there.
How am I?
To try and give them what info we can, so that they can do their own research.
So do I. What do you think I've been doing since 2000?
I know. But is that so? But you don't disagree with what I just said, then? How would you fine tune on what I just said?
Simplify it. Why don't you simplify it? You went off to Henry Kissinger and the top of the New World Order, the Illuminati. You went on light years ahead. You need to coax people up to that.
Right.
At that local level, we're talking about the UK and the European Union. And the UK is run by Bilderbergs in it. Cameron was a Bilderberg. Osborne was a Bilderberg. Boris Johnson is a Bilderberg. Most of them are Bilderbergs on the front bench. Not all of them. Most of them.
Yes. Who, out of interest, is not? For example, David Davis. Is he? I take it he isn't.
He's on the list. We've got the list of 300.
So we can't even trust our Brexit minister.
Liam Fox is a Bilderberg. Are you getting this? Are you starting to see a pattern?
I didn't know that David Davis was. I knew that Liam Fox was. Yeah.
But they're playing. You know, you've got the Leavers and the Ramonas, and basically, you know, it's just a farce. It's a game to make it look like there's some opposing interests in the same party, when actually. Yeah, as you say, a lot of them are signed up members of Bilderberg, so they basically have the same agenda. It's the homogenization and creation of a corporate European superstate. That's what they're trying to make happen.
This pathetic farce they're calling negotiations in Brussels. On one side of the table, you've got Bilderbergs. On the other side of the table, oh God, you've got Bilderbergs.
Yeah, that's right.
Negotiation.
Bilderbergs with one arm behind their back, in the sense that the British public are looking very, very carefully at these negotiations to see whether or not Brexit is enacted. So at least they've got one arm behind their back, no?
That's an assumption, because the garbage that's coming out in the mainstream media is all propaganda.
Yeah.
And why is it propaganda? It's because the media has been censored by the European Union laws since 2009. All the press, all the TV is now under heavy European Union censorship laws because it's illegal to criticise the European Union, which leads to fascism. If you can't criticise your government, you're buggered.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd also like to, you know, say that Theresa May was, you know, we had that. I know I keep harping on about this sort of these sex scandal, you know, these blackmailed MPs, but I think it plays, you know, a very significant part of this problem. You know, Theresa May was Home Secretary for 6 years. She would have been party to a lot of information about this particular subject. You know, the CSA inquiry was set up, which has turned into a farce. You know, the government themselves have employed hundreds of barristers and solicitors in order to try and poo-poo anybody. You know, they keep losing all the testimonies, you know, of people. It's a farce. But a May must have serious evidence on all the, you know, MPs. Never mind what party they're from, but the MPs that are, blackmailable because of their sexual predilections.
But
Questionable.
What do you think of that, Alan?
I think she was elected Prime Minister because of what she's got on a lot of people in her own party.
Oh, yes. No, it was intriguing that she was Home Secretary during the time of all of the news about Elm Guest House, for example, and in Barnes, and has potentially lots and lots of ammunition on various different ministers on all sides of the House. And Alan, I mean, she does. That's a very interesting theory that Piers just intimated on, no?
It's valid, but I think that, again, you're both assuming that Theresa May runs the Conservative Party, which doesn't exist.
I didn't say that, but carry on.
Well, she's a globalist, she's a Bilderberger, but she now has these blackmailable MPs, at her disposal, so she can pursue in an underhand way the Bilderberg globalist agenda. You toe the line. They're all going to toe her official line. I mean, she's playing the role of a prime minister who's following the democratic mandate, but obviously that's all duplicity. She's a witch. She's a two-faced Bilderberg witch. I mean,
Okay, all right, okay.
To lose as much of that general election as she could. She didn't. I mean, it was the most appallingly fought general election of any prime minister I've ever seen.
It was a clever.
She did practically everything she could. Let's bring back fox hunting. I mean, it was absurd that she should. It was just the most.
All right. You got your point in, Piers. Alan.
It wasn't. It was actually manipulated by instruction. And
exactly.
What was happening was she came up with this farce that she needed a big majority, and everybody immediately went, "Oh, that's undemocratic. Don't give them a mandate." But then they were instructed to sabotage their own campaign. They were told, reduce this majority. What's the best way of losing votes? Attack the people who would normally vote for you, and that's exactly what she did.
And you've described it much better than I can.
Debbie Shaw, exactly. Oh my God, look at what we're discussing. Why are those in power not held to the same laws as the rest? All of this is stomach churning. But I want to look at this from a slightly different angle.
I can answer Debbie's question.
Yes.
The simplicity is that the European Union brought in laws on the back that nobody ever saw. There's actually a book around that actually makes all officers, agents and representatives of the European Union outside the law.
Really?
They effectively, short of murdering one of the others, they effectively cannot be taken to jail for it.
Is that a bit like diplomacy law?
Kind of, but it's a much darker extension of it.
It is. Go on. Yeah.
These people in power, and Cameron's a very, very pointed example of it, they use this law to blatantly lie and defraud the British public because they can lie. Cameron should have a class action against him by every voter on the I hate using the word, on the let's join the European Union side or let's stay out, which is what
that's another thing. Anyway, carry on. Yep.
Every voter to sue him personally for fraud. He defrauded the public. Look, bear with me on this. It's very simple. He promised an in-out referendum. We should have had an in-out referendum. We didn't. We got a leave, remain referendum. But that wasn't even the truth. What we were getting was a join or stay out referendum.
That's right, because we hadn't technically joined. We never have.
The key of this, and this is what millions of people need to be told, our membership of both the EEC, let's keep it separate, and the European Union is totally, totally illegal. We are not legally, under British law, under Magna Carta, under the Vienna Convention, under any existing English law, which still exists, we are not legally in the European Union. This is all a contrived plot.
Alan, have I just lost you again? Piers? That's funny, isn't it? I'll tell you. GCHQ. GCHQ is listening to Daily Brexit, and I hope you're enjoying it, guys, over there in Cheltenham. I don't know, you know, nice and sunny day. I'm going to see if I can get these guys back again, because we do pursue these things here, and they should be here. They should be here. Should be connected. Guys, why can I not hear you? Okay, I'm going to end this call, and I'm going to call them back. Just as Alan was making an awesomely good point about the fact that actually we never joined the EU, and so the referendum was just a complete bloody joke, because we were being asked if we wanted to leave something we'd never technically joined.
You know, they're all sort of whispering.
I know it's not quite as simple as that. Okay, all right. That's Piers. Alan, please turn off your camera, Piers, because it's wasting bandwidth. You're beautiful, but right. Alan isn't there, is he? Alan isn't there. Let me see if I can get Alan back. Been disconnected. Piers, that's an interesting point, isn't it? That is an interesting point. Well, I know that we've got all these treaties and what have you, you know, from, you know, Maastricht through to Lisbon, but we didn't. Alan, are you there now?
Well, I'm here, but strange things are happening.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I just wondered if it was GCHQ butting in. Look, that's a fascinating point that you just made. You're basically saying that we never technically, legally joined something that we now have to have this enormous, great big process to get out of.
Because what the government is doing, and much to my chagrin, Nigel Farage kept promoting at his conferences Article 50. It was put into the Lisbon Treaty to make it as difficult as possible to leave the European Union. It's so well written and so legalised, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Article 50 was a scam, absolute scam. When the petition was brought up against it, the government threw it back and said Article 50 is the only legal way to get out. But what they weren't telling you was, under European law, it was the only legal way to get out. Under English law, there are actually several ways to get out. Revoke the EC 1972 Act.
Right.
That
Which Ted Heath, who was allegedly a rampant.
Okay, all right, yeah, another alleged pedo. Yep, go on, Alan. Yep, good point, Piers.
Right. Paedophilia greases this machine. Now let's put paedophilia aside for a minute, because it's distracting. It is the grease that runs this whole machine up to the old level, absolutely. But we can get to that another day. I think that's something we need to debate another day. If we get on the politics, the situation of the United Kingdom and the European Union, then we'll stay more focused. We need to remain focused on this.
Linda says we basically cut the ties by the Vienna Convention. Can you explain, Alan, what she means by that, please?
Absolutely. The government could literally take a petition of their own to the Vienna Convention, which actually makes all our treaties under the Vienna Convention, which we're signed into, illegal. That is the easiest and quickest way. We could be out of the European Union in 48 hours. And other than being nasty little thugs that they are, technically there's not a single thing they could do about it. They couldn't get another penny out of us for the membership fee. They couldn't bring any laws to bear on us. They couldn't touch us.
That's right.
Except, of course, being a realist, what they would do, you've got to be a realist, what they would do is start embargoes against the UK. What they might do is cut off our electricity, because we don't have control of our electricity.
Well, I think we could probably do something about that as well. But yeah, no, it would be nasty. And you're then forcing a situation directly. Is German trade and French trade willing to sacrifice itself so far as the UK is concerned? Right. That's the bottom line.
If you spoke to any industrialist, any producer, any wine grower, any onion grower in Europe, anywhere, they don't want to lose our business. But The European Union doesn't give. I've just censored that. They don't give. Oh no, I won't censor it.
Do censor it, please.
They don't give a cuss about the people of Europe. They'll let industries crumble before they'll step back. There are two entities. There are actually three entities. Two entities here. There are the Europeans. 28 European countries involved in it at the moment. There are the Europeans, and there is the European Union. And the European Union is not Europe.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's got nothing to do with Europe. Europe is a cultural entity, and the European Union is a political device. I mean,
Europe is a continent of wonderful, impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, I want to change the subject slightly. Thank you for covering that. I really appreciate that. That's a very, very key point, I think, that we were just discussing there. I want to ask you about your profile picture. If you could explain it to me, please. On your profile page on Facebook, because you've got a flag of the EU flag curling up, and underneath it, being exposed, is a swastika. No, we can't talk over each other, Alan. Otherwise, people won't be able to hear either of us. What does that mean? What does that mean?
If you look at the European Union and look at the Soviet Union, and look at the aspirations of the Fourth Reich, they are absolutely parallel. Do you know that the foundation roots, the founding fathers of the European Union were ex-Nazis? They were convicted criminals in the Nuremberg trials. Do you know where the European Union's birth was? It was in a document written by, it was either Goebbels or Goering. I get them mixed up. I think it was Goebbels. Written for Adolf Hitler, which I can't pronounce the name. It's Erbe something or other, which I've got the German one and I've got the English one here, which literally means European Economic Community. Literal German translation. But what it is the birth of the Fourth Reich.
I'm afraid I agree with you. I mean, you know, the World War II version of their "let's take over the world" didn't work. So now they're doing it
economically. Well, they're doing it actually through political correctness.
Yeah.
They're using different weapons.
Yeah.
I mean, ideology,
one of the
political correctness.
I have to keep correcting people on is they think it's the Germans. It isn't. I've got Germans in my groups. I've got Germans I talk to.
Well, the Germans are getting screwed too, and they're the most cowed people almost on the face of the planet. And actually, there's a lot in common between the Germans and the Jews and the way they've been used, both these groups.
Yeah, no, there's a lot in common with the Germans, believe it or not, and people won't like this either, because I don't say things people like. Thank you, Linda. She's just put the German interpretation of EEC on the thing. Thank you, Linda. That is the word that I can't pronounce. The trouble is, what they do is divide and conquer. In the UK, they divided the Scots from the English, then they divide young from the old, the left from the right. They play all these games till they got us fragmented. They've done it in Europe. People like me, fortunately, and others, I won't say I'm not looking for any glory, communicate with Europe. I talk to Germans, Dutch, Danes, people in America too.
Yes.
And these.
Do you think the Le Pen Macron election was rigged in favour of Macron?
It was actually, there were so many scandals going on there that yes, it definitely was. They had to get another Bilderberg puppet who has no family.
Has he not?
Well, he's got a wife who's 20 years older than him, who was dating when he was a 15-year-old schoolboy.
There's a pattern been picked up by others, and we've checked it, and it's correct. Every single...
Sorry,
that's all right. That's London town going on. Carry on, Alan.
Yeah.
There's a pattern.
Let's bugger off and go and do their crimes somewhere else.
I've just closed the window, so you should be all right now.
Well, I'm a Londoner. It breaks my heart when I go back. We won't go on that. It's another side conversation.
Yeah.
Look at every single person in supreme power within the European Union, and every newcomer recruited into the European Union, you'll find a pattern. And the pattern is they don't have a family. They have no future
moral compass, partly as well, eh?
That's right. There's always something weird about them. You know, they don't have. You know, I mean, Gordon Brown. You know, a lot of them have got sort of trophy wives. You know, that's what you could call them, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, you can take it to Theresa May.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, got a trophy husband. Exactly. I mean,
no, she hasn't bred. The key is the generations. I mean, I do this. I don't do it for you. I don't do it for you. All of these people online, although I love them, lot of them dearly, I do this thing for 3 little girls. That's my total motivation. And when I'm feeling low,
to give them some semblance of a future, which is what any caring, responsible father would want for their kids.
Absolutely.
I don't want my children growing up in a poverty-stricken tyranny, which is what the European Union is. There is only one end result for the people within the European Union. It's very simple. Poverty. There is no other recourse. The target, I did an article about this 4 years ago. The focus of the target of the European Union and the structures that you're talking about above them is to wipe out the middle class. They have to, it doesn't matter if you're upper middle or you're lower middle or you're middle. The total target is to wipe out the middle class, to put them into poverty. And they can do it from the bottom, because many people run a business, they rely on the lower income as their customers. They're losing their customers because these people are falling into poverty. And they can build up this structure, and there are more and more things going on around them. There's the property tax, which is being hidden carefully.
Don't you think, Alan, that if we leave, the European project is over?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
I don't think
it's over in its current form, but might they not cling to something lower funded and pull in some money elsewhere? They're talking about drumming up tax amongst European people now, having a direct EU tax they're talking about now, for example.
Well, I've had paper. It's in the Lisbon Treaty. Anybody who's read, I mean, most people won't read it. The only good for it is a bloody doorstop. Thickness, it's the size of a house brick. Interesting, I don't know if either of you gentlemen know, but some of my troops do, that Gordon Brown didn't have time to read the Lisbon Treaty before he signed it.
Yeah.
It was handed to the
sounds like Obamacare.
A couple of copies of it were handed to civil servants in the UK 24 hours before he signed it. This thing is literally the thickness of a house brick. Nobody could have disseminated it. And yet, he signed this damn thing, and we lost a lot of things in the Lisbon Treaty, the one that exists now.
Yes.
We lost. Come back to Cameron. You can't do so-and-so with the treaty unless you have a referendum. But I think and then he says, we can veto that. No, we can't. The veto was removed with the Lisbon Treaty because the Irish obstructed it anyway.
Yeah,
but
and the French, no?
That was the French and the Dutch. That was the flaw when they tried to introduce the great unknown and unspoken about European Constitution. They actually had devised and written a constitution to make themselves a state.
Alan, let me get my facts right here. Sorry, was it just the Irish that voted against what was, I think, the predecessor to the Lisbon Treaty, and they just shuffled around a few words and then gave the Irish a second referendum? Was that not right? And then they passed it. Or did the French also disagree? I've lost Alan again. I'll tell you what, I'm hearing from the comments, Clive Cooper, I keep getting broadcast interrupted, for example. And I do think that one of the problems with doing this show on Facebook Live, on Facebook, which personally I think is just a data mining government vehicle, CIA, all that. personally, I might be wrong, that's what I believe, is going to pose a few problems. So, folks, please bear with us, yeah? Because, hey, stick with us, and I'll keep trying to patch whatever guest back, and we'll get there, because we do need to talk through this. I'm going to extend this show as well by at least a little while, because there is so much stuff here that we just haven't remotely covered. And whilst Alan's on the show, if he's on the show,
the thing that amazes me.
Here we go. Okay, I've got Piers back, and Alan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I lost both of you. Did you realise that you weren't on air, or maybe I wasn't? Somebody wasn't.
Well, I mean, that's a shame, because what Alan was just saying was very important. Maybe some of the people who have been listening can make comments as to whether or not what Alan was just saying was audible or not.
Okay,
I mean,
look, guys, I just want to say, yes, please, I want to recap on what Alan was just saying, but also I think we're gonna extend this show if we can. Alan, would you mind if we extend the show a little bit?
I'm cool. You've got 5 or 6 hours.
Well, I'd say let's give it another half hour, and we can, because we barely touching the surface.
You barely scratched the surface, and Alan seems to know a lot about this. I mean, it's fascinating. I'm learning stuff that I'm only finding out about for the first time tonight, and I'm sure many of the people listening in are.
I asked a question about the Irish, just to get my facts right, and then you got cut off. So with that Lisbon Treaty, this is where I was. Maybe you can recap from here, Alan. With that Lisbon Treaty, the Irish voted it down. It wasn't actually the Lisbon, was it? It was what became the Lisbon Treaty.
No,
and
they voted down.
Go on. Put me right.
Right. France and Holland voted down or vetoed the European Constitution, which everybody kept out of the conversation in the referendum, conveniently, which was literally to make them a nation and to make us a chattel state. So they rejigged the pages and they threw it back again as the Lisbon Treaty. But because it was governed by the Maastricht Treaty, which still had a veto, the Irish got a referendum. We didn't, of course, because nobody gave us the opportunity to reject it, which we would have done. So the Irish rejected it. It was thrown back at them and said, you voted wrong by the European Union. They had another referendum. They voted against it. So this time, the third time, the European Union, using other people's funds, threw billions of euros.
You're breaking up a bit.
They bribed the Irish to vote correctly. From the Irish people's point of view, yes, they saw funds coming in. They saw.
Sorry to interrupt. I can't. Alan, you're breaking up my end. Ollie, can you still hear Alan clearly?
I can hear both of you clearly.
These people who live in foreign countries, what can you say?
I just want to say, Steve Burton has made a point. The Irish mainly opposed the EU because of the EU abortion, which the Irish being promised their own rules. So
I think that's a part of it, but wasn't a great. Yeah, it was a part of it.
Okay. Linda and Debbie are telling us that they can hear us. So carry on, Alan. Okay, fine.
You guys,
all right.
You guys are sort of intermittently I can't hear what's being said, and then you pop back in. It's slightly.
I tell you what, we're being played on this. We're maybe being played a little bit.
I mean, Facebook is the ultimate tool of the very people we're criticising. So
certainly is.
And what we're actually talking about is quite hard hitting.
Yeah, I've been publishing it for 4 years. Harder hitting than this, I promise you.
Yeah, no, I bet. But when you're doing it sort of in a radio format where people can just listen in as opposed to actually have to read some article, people can just make a coffee and listen in. It's sort of potentially you can reach a lot more people in one go than just sort of.
I think Linda Fox. Not to say that I'm disinterested in what you're saying, Piers, but I think Linda Fox sums it up very well They bombarded the Irish with EU propaganda, then made them vote again.
So you're breaking
the
up
right
to me
way.
now, Ollie.
Okay, Piers, put up with it. If I to be honest with you, I love you, man. You can be heard. Alan can be heard, and so we're just going to have to do the best we can.
All right,
Alan. Okay, where are we now? I mean, let's get down to brass tacks with the direction we're going. You mentioned the 5 Presidents Treaty. Can you please explain to us again, just briefly, what that is, what it means for European people?
Somebody else will give me the Italian name, the correct name of it, but it's known as the 5 Presidents Treaty. It's not a separate treaty. It's an extension of the Lisbon Treaty. Because as you probably know, the Lisbon Treaty is self-amending. It's like signing a contract with a customer or a supplier where he can change the terms and the cost of it at any time, doesn't have to have reference to you. The fact the Lisbon Treaty is so bent is unbelievable. But the 5 Presidents Treaty is vile in a lot of ways. 3 key points is it gives one representative from Britain the right to vote on behalf of the British people. So we don't even get a look in. We don't get it talked about in Parliament. They can walk out there with a pen in their hand and sign away our lives. They can literally do that if they ever...
If they ever what? Alan, you've gone. He went just to the key time there. Okay. I tell you. Facebook. They're playing with us. I'm going to, according to this, we're all in call. Shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to try and call these guys again. And the worst of it is that now Alan and Piers are talking between themselves, I guess. And they're kind of like, I don't know, they're just assuming that I'm being quiet. They think they're still on air. They're still having a conversation. And you're left with me. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm calling them back. Okay, I can hear Piers.
Yes.
And Alan.
I'm still here, if you can hear me.
You just,
but
well, you both got...
saying I can't hear.
Blimey.
Hang up. I'm hanging up. Phone back.
Okay. All right. Do that. Alan, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
We've not had these kind of problems using Facebook previously, but...
I wouldn't worry about too much about the paranormal. I've got GCHQ up the road to me here.
Right.
They're only 15 miles away from me here. I don't worry about them.
I don't worry about them either, but I do like playing with them.
Well, it's annoying if they think that the content of whatever we're talking about is worth tampering with. You know, I mean, I think that's probably paranoia, but you know,
I've got people that go online every single morning with a list of keywords and total gibberish conversations. Really go out so that GCHQ will pick up these keywords. They'll pick up terrorism and they'll pick up anything. There's a bunch of keywords. But
yeah, that's right.
Colleagues that do that every single day or in the middle of the night, literally to start messing them around.
Okay, guys. So, Alan, yes, indeed. So this 5 presidents business, basically, what you're saying is that if that is enacted, it's game over. We no longer have sovereign nation states throughout the EU conglomeration.
I don't like using these nation states. That's the EU terminology. No longer have.
It's like we don't want the United States of Europe.
Right, there's no such thing. It's not the United States of Europe.
Not at the moment.
There's no such thing. The United States of Europe, the United States has one president. Love him or hate him or her.
Yes.
They get elected. I don't like their system, but they get elected by the people, by the voters.
Yes, you're right.
We have 5 presidents.
Yep.
All of them individually is paid more than the President of the United States. We didn't elect any of them. And then they've got a substructure in the States of the House of Senate, the House of Representatives. All those individuals, and there's some bent buggers in there, are elected. They may have been elected through the fatness of their wallets, but they're elected. We've got the European Union Council, and we've got the European Union Commission. We don't elect one single soul in either of those. And then you've got this ultra farce, which is an empty, vacuous, overpaid extortion called the Parliament. The Parliament, you could dance naked on the table and nobody would take any notice of you, because everything that happens in the European Parliament is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, they're there to rubber stamp, as far as I can tell. They're not allowed to introduce their own legislation, are they?
Right, do you know how they vote? It's two buttons.
Block vote.
Yes or, right? And do you know the European Union switch off the no button if they don't like it?
They had a vote. They had a vote a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago now, to ask whether or not they should reform themselves. And the vote went 525 in favour of reform, as opposed to 25 against reforming the EU. So that's a pretty big sign. There is no legal basis whatsoever for the EU to pay any attention to this. And hey, we have heard. How much did you hear about it? How much did any of us hear about that on BBC Newsnight?
The liars, people like Clegg and Timmy the Ferret, they go on TV.
Tim Farron. Tim Nice put Dem. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, the ferret. They go on TV and they talk about democracy, but what they actually don't want is democracy.
He is not democratic. He doesn't want democracy. Vince Cable doesn't want democracy.
But what flabbergasts me is I've got a lot of very intelligent friends who buy into this EU recipe absolutely completely and stand by it and vociferously.
What is that? Stockholm syndrome. What is that?
Stockholm syndrome.
What is it?
Where they start to admire their abusers.
Yeah, I know what it is. Why? Why?
Piers. No, let me put a challenge out to Piers. Gather your highly intelligent friends in a room. Give me 1 hour with them.
I would love to do that, Alan. I genuinely would.
Done over the country.
They wouldn't want to listen. I know that.
Well, whether they want to listen, you want to be a lemming, then you are going to be a lemming. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Lemming...
A lot of people are.
Yeah, they're going to be dead.
Look at what happened to the Jews. Walked into the gas chambers. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of lemming stuff. Linda Fox, the end game of the Five Presidents Treaty is total, genuine economic, financial, fiscal and political union. An unelected dictatorship. Well,
and they wanted to lasso basically this homogenized European superstate to America with the transatlantic trade and investment partnership. So this is the globalization process which we were referring to earlier on when we were talking about the machinations going on in America and how they're tied to the EU project. I mean, ultimately, this new world order, one world government is the recipe that they're all basically trying to achieve. And
they structured it recently. Because there are now the three pillars of the New World Order, which goes under other names, are the American Union,
yes,
the European Union, and the Asian. There was an African Union, but the plan for Africa is to be absorbed into the European Union.
Right.
Cape Town will be no subsidy in Europe.
And then to put them all together, and I think it was Jacques Delors that was boasting about the Bilderberg plan, whereby the EU was a cornerstone of these continental unions that ultimately would merge into a global government. Kissinger was out there having a chat with China back in the Nixon days, already trying to lay the land.
Right. And then it's the Hunger Games for everyone.
Absolutely. I've actually done memes. And people will back me up on this, people who know me. I've done memes. If you want to know what life in the European Union is like, watch the Hunger Games. It's exactly that. But the key thing there's a problem to the New World Order at the moment. They've got two problems. They've now got a problem in the USA. They have to defeat the USA, and then they can just sweep the others up like a dustpan. They have to beat the USA.
They do.
In Europe,
they do. They need to cow the US in the way that they have Germany.
No, well, don't worry about Germany.
Well,
the jewel in the crown and the key to the European Union is the United Kingdom. We're the credibility.
Yeah, that's right.
We're the people who the world respect in a way, or abuse. But
we've got a bloody great big economy going on that they can't afford to lose trade with. That's the bottom line, isn't it? There,
the UK to get the European Union to work. If we stay out, I won't use this thing leave. If we stay the hell out of it, they're buggered. Because the first thing, if she would make the announcement, right, that's it, I've had enough bullying, I'm walking out the door, and they all walked out of Brussels and came back here.
Yes.
But within days, the euro would collapse.
Yes, I think you're right. But then that is actually a good reason for her not to do it, because I'll tell you, there's a big part of me that says just walk away, walk away. But on the other hand, if she did do that, the antagonism against the UK actually would be pretty vitriolic, huh?
And
it could lead to war.
No, it's more likely to lead to war if we stay in.
If we stay in, it will lead to war. If we
it will, because
go out,
it will be turning itself into the Hunger Games. And what happens at the end of the Hunger Games? They rebel.
Okay.
They all rise up against the elite.
Yeah,
and have a war.
But if we were to be seen, because a lot of this is about perception. All of this, about most things, is about perception. It's not so much what people say, it's how you perceive it and things like that. And so, for example, if we are perceived by the rest of Europe to be being bloody-minded, then there's going to be more vitriol. Whereas, if we are seen to have tried to support our European trading partners, not talking about the EU, I'm talking about the nation states, the sovereign nations, then surely that's a good thing. And that is the best outcome, because we have, it's less antagonistic.
We make it, I don't care. We make it very clear to the Europeans that we are not walking away from them. We make it very clear to the onion shops, to the vineyards. We are not walking away from you. Come and trade with us. Tomorrow morning, knock on the door. We will trade with you. But
who do we say that through? Oh, we're not going to say it through Bild newspaper, are we? Or Le Monde or El País. They're going to print what the EU wants them to print.
The policy in Parliament are all part of the problem.
Yes.
I mean, we need to have a complete overhaul. We need to have some form of crash.
We need a crash, and I agree, Alan. Oh, they've gone again, haven't they? They've gone again. And they don't know it. I'll tell you, this is crazy. I think it's a bandwidth issue. I think. I will look into it. I'd like to think it was GCHQ. I would, because, hey, you can watch and learn, yeah, baby. But I actually think it's probably me. Sorry. I am going to try again. I'm going to end this call again. And I'm going to call back these guys. And then they will think that they've been talking on air. And oh dear. There you go, Alan. Whatever you just said, again, we lost it. I'm really sorry.
I was speaking.
Piers, okay, that's not so bad. Piers.
I was saying we needed to reboot the whole system. I'm saying that everybody, from the day they're born to now, the foundation and bedrock of their whole mental landscape has been built on lies. Did you hear that?
Yeah, well, we have now. I agree with that.
In your chit-chat online, you're ignoring the people that are on the line watching and contributing, actually. And I thanked Linda Fox, because she's introduced something you two gentlemen might not be aware of. Article 222. Are either of you aware of Article 222?
No.
No.
Bring it on.
I'll tell you something. This is the this business about a self-amending treaty. Article 222 was added to the Lisbon Treaty after it was signed. And under the guise of terrorism control, it gives the right of the European Union to send in armed police, militia or troops into any European state that rebels against them, that opposes them, that demonstrates or strikes.
Bring on that EU army. Can't wait.
No, hang on. The EU army already, 50,000 of them already. They already exist. Don't think it's coming. It's here. It's present. It's mostly...
Who comprises the EU army? Just as an aside, I want to talk more about that Article 222 with you, Alan, but who comprises it? Where is that? Where's the manpower coming from?
I was actually telling you that when you talked over me.
Sorry.
It's comprised mostly at the moment. There's a small contingent of Italians and Germans, but the main contingent is Lithuanians and Latvians because they're easy to recruit and they're cheap. But what they've also done, which most people aren't aware of, they've absorbed all the Dutch armoured divisions into the European army. The Dutch government gave them permission to do that. There is no Dutch armoured divisions anymore. All three divisions are now absorbed in the European. They've got a fighting force. And if you look at the new beret colour of this fighting force, it's the same blue as the UN. And that's key to know, because the UN is targeted to be the New World Order's militia to control the people.
The UN is?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I thought it already was. Pretty much.
What can we do? How can we fight this? This seems like an insurmountable foe. You know,
we've met insurmountable foes before, but the key thing now, which is where we've got a problem, you know, my groups have got a problem, is we don't have funding. There are workarounds. There are ways around it. We've got ideas here, but it does take funding. We're not. Look at the obstacles. The main obstacle is we won't and ever will get access to the mainstream media. That's a certainty.
Yeah.
You've got to deal with that. So you find a way of informing the British people, I don't care whether they're Remain voters, Leave voters, or didn't vote, every British citizen out here, of exactly what the situation is. The illegality
That's right.
The illegality of it. The hardest part of this task, in the years I've been doing it, is convincing people with their own government, and therefore their own political parties, are actually working against them. It's the toughest obstacle of the lot to get over.
Yep, it is. You're right. I agree. I cried over that personally when I realised it. Very difficult pill to swallow.
People are in the mentality where they vote for the rosette. They don't look at who's standing there wearing it.
You don't. People naturally.
Well, people don't want to believe that they're with their own intellectual capabilities that the world that they believe exists it isn't true. They can't handle it. Their egos prevent them from accepting the truth, which is they've basically been lied to their entire lives.
That's right. Yes. And we also naturally, instinctively like to have a leader. I mean, we were, after all, brought up by parents, and we do like to have a leader by and large. And therefore, when we, later on, having been brought up with Queen and Country and all the rest of it as well, and you realise that most of it's actually just a sham, then that is deeply distressing for people to get their heads round. And as
absolutely.
Well, they need to go through this cold light of the day. What is it? What's the expression? Cold light of the day, or what is it?
Yeah, cold light of day.
Moment. Yeah, they need to have that moment. We need to step out. We need to take the plunge. We need to have our internal battles. We all need to have that moment where we have a kind of mental breakdown or a realization that we've been lied to incessantly by the mainstream media and our politicians, and they're all singing from the same hymn sheet behind the scenes in order to bring in this one world, new world order. You know, that's the agenda at play, and everything else is theatre.
Yeah, you're right. Guys, look, just before we carry on with this, you're right. You're right, Alan. I want to involve the comments more, and I just want to read through some of these comments because there's some damn good comments here. Premsil Vachet, we can fight spreading the ideas, discussing it, and opening the free market of ideas. Let everyone talk about it and get everyone to think. Let's keep doing that, guys. Debbie Shaw, how to fight it. 99% of the planet are about to become victims. Teach them, for goodness sake. People need to unite in each nation if they want to keep their freedoms and choices. Absolutely. And that's why I think it's very important, for example, to look at the parallels between what's going on in Europe with what's going on in the United States and other parts of the world as well, what have you. Linda Fox, contradict the media lies. Absolutely, absolutely. The genie is out of the bottle, isn't it? With the internet. I think it was Rockefeller, Senator J. Rockefeller stood up in the Senate and said, "Why on earth did we invent this thing?" Wonderful. Anyway, Christopher Baxter has got a definition for us on Article 222. Is about the Union and its member states shall act jointly in a spirit of solidarity if a member state is the object of a terrorist attack or the victim of a natural or man-made disaster. The Union shall mobilize all the instruments at its disposal, including the military resources made available by the member states, to A, prevent the terrorist threat in the territory of the member states, protect democratic institutions and the civilian population from any terrorist attack, and B, assist a member state in its territory at the request of its political authorities in the event of a natural or man-made disaster. So basically it's cooperation. And how do you define a terrorist attack? Because a lot of people, I reckon I'm on a few lists, for example. Alan, I'm sure you are. And you too, Piers. We're all terrorists, aren't we? I think we're terrorists, no? All these people watching, you're all terrorists, yeah? If you're spreading this kind of information, are we not being classified by the NSA now as being terrorists or something? It's pretty bloody close to that, no? No, I've lost them again. Now I've lost them again. I'm sorry about this, folks. And I'd like to read out some more of your comments as well. But what I am going to do is I'm going to get these guys back on. We haven't had this before. I'll look into this. I'll do what I can. I'll tell you what would help, actually. What would really, really help. One thing I need to do is to increase my bandwidth. At the moment, I've got about a 7-8 megabit upload bandwidth. And that's really, really important to have more like 15. Minimum 10, they reckon, but ideally more upload, not download, upload speed. And I need to pay for that. And I also need to put various time into doing various. So look, if you can donate, go to paypal.me/Brexit. It's the first time I've asked this. Well, I mean, I've had that thing on the strap the last few shows. If you could chuck in a few quid, that would be awesome. That would be fantastic. Alan and Piers, are you there now?
Yeah, well, Piers and I have been here all the time.
Yeah, this is very odd. Very odd. Very odd.
I don't know whether what we were saying was going out or not, but
no, it wasn't for about the last 5 minutes, which is such a pity.
Okay. Well, it's okay because most of my allies know what I'm telling you anyway, Piers, and there's quite a few of them on there. I see we've got wee Sherry from Scotland.
Yeah.
Hello, Sherry. Pat. I know these people and they know me. We've never met. Most of them we've never met.
Yeah. But I mean, it is about educating people, but it is such an uphill struggle because most of the people I try and have conversations with about the very subjects we're talking about today, they just won't listen. They just close up. I would literally have to force them to come and sit in a room with you and let you lecture them for an hour about the facts.
I don't.
Yeah, but they would refuse. They would refuse that. They're too obstinate. Sorry, carry on.
That's not my tactic at all. As I started to say at some point, and you got lost, I did a lot of presentations that I funded personally. I used the last of my savings. to do mixed-size presentations where I could get them. It could be the back room of a pub, maybe 60, 70, 80 people. On a couple of occasions, it was 250 to 300 people.
Yeah.
And all I do is I get up, I tell people what I've been telling you, things they do not know, what they never heard from the politicians. But then I have a break, I show them a video that you've never seen, which is on my Britain's United site, and it tells them exactly how we got in this mess. Exactly. It was made before people were awake. It's called Betrayal. If you look on Britain's United in the video library, look for Betrayal. It's the first intro to getting a lot of knowledge in one few minutes, 15 minutes I think it is. But after the break, I didn't talk to people at all. It was open forum, ask questions, and it works. Because once you've got people asking questions, you've got a captive audience. And if you can answer those questions honestly and truthfully...
The difference there, Alan, is that they had taken the initiative or been encouraged enough or were interested enough to go into that room and sit down to listen. And I have to say, most people, for example, the folks that Piers is talking about, they would no way do that. And we had such debates. I lost friends over the referendum, I'm afraid.
I've lost my family over the referendum. I've lost my family over everything I've been doing for 7 years.
No.
And that breaks my heart.
It really has. You're so right. The divide and conquer, ordo ab chaos. You know, I mean, it's like religion was set up for that very sole purpose, just to divide us, so we'd fight amongst ourselves and not look up and aim our venom at the
realise what they're doing.
Class, the elite class. I mean, this is what they've done.
I'm in a nice, comfortable position because a long time ago, I discarded politics. I'm not a member of, I won't join, and I won't follow, and I won't obey any political party. So I'm free to speak, and that's what I do. I don't have anybody saying, oh, you can't say this, you can't say that. I say what I want to say. I use my freedom of speech, which is
I do as well. I've lost friends over it.
But also, I discarded religion a long time ago.
Yeah, that helps. Not faith. That's a different thing. Very personal.
No, let's not.
Religion isn't personal. It's man-made.
It was actually an interface with Princess Diana that made the final decision on that.
What do you mean?
I was really that I was in the same room as her. I mean, she smiled at me, but that I was involved with sponsoring a children's cancer unit in Harrow in Middlesex, Northwood Park.
Yeah,
because we got
I know that.
Involved with them, we got invited to their official opening. And Princess Diana went to do the official opening. It was her last actual public appearance. And I watched that woman, and she was absolutely, totally pleasant to everybody. But what she did was get away from the bodyguards, got away from the cameras, got away from the publicity. She went over into the wards, and she sat down so closely intimate with these children, many of whom were dying. And because of my experience in that hospital, I thought, if there's a God, he wouldn't be allowing this. I moved from agnostic to atheist at that point. And I've got Princess Diana.
I agree. Very simple question I have. What God is religion? Yeah, exactly.
Take a pick. I had a guy who was obviously an American, some sort of raving extreme Christian. He kept posting this stuff out, and I just let it go. And in the end, I started putting cryptic comments in because he says, "It's God. If you haven't taken to God, you would take." And I said, "Oh, you're talking about Allah?" And he blew. I said, "But isn't he God? Or is it the other one?" And I'd name all these gods. He said, "No, there is only one God." And I'd name another one. And it drove it. In the end, he blocked me completely. That was on Instagram. But
you're very cheeky, mate. You can have different names for the same bloke.
Sorry?
I mean,
You can have different
it's not
names
that
for the
I've
same God.
I do believe there's an intelligent design to the universe. I mean, you know, if you put sound on a speaker and put through a certain frequency, you get geometry, which shows a degree of intelligence. You know, I mean, there is an intelligent design. There's sacred geometry. I mean, people like Da Vinci knew about this. He painted Vitruvian Man. He was talking about the sacred ratio in the human body. You know, there is a recipe, an intelligence behind the design of the universe, but you don't have to label it God if you don't want to.
I think we're getting the trouble is here. We're way off the subject.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was trying to be polite. Look, Debbie Shaw said something I think is very relevant, more pertinent than anything you guys have said in the last couple of minutes. Is it me, or do we have also, via education, an awful lot of people, of educated people, but not taught to think for themselves? And even if they do, so few have the ability to see the big picture and where it's leading, and it's skills all humans have. And that's so true. There are different types of intelligence. Look at David Beckham. He's got his brains in his boots. And other people, you know, have more of a common sense. A lot of people that are very, very hyper bright, and they're utterly useless. You can't even walk down the street in a straight line. You know, you've got different types of intelligence, no question about it. And I think, Alan, you'd agree with me here, yeah? I think you're the kind of character who's pulled yourself up by the bootstraps in life, no?
Well, where I've seen a break, I've gone for the break. And a couple of times it has been a break. Other places, you know, I've floundered around like an idiot. I've been a milkman, I've been a driver, I've been all the things down there. And as you know, but Piers doesn't, I have 0 qualifications. I didn't even get no level, right? So I've got no O levels, no A levels, and I've only got a degree of common sense. I've got no other degree.
But you've managed to educate yourself in this vital political topic, this niche, and you're helping educate us now as well.
I'm passionate about this. I mean,
that's all you need is a bit of passion.
Well, it was nice, actually. The day that people stopped calling me a raving, they still do, a raving loony, which I had for years and years and years. And somebody said, no, you're just passionate. And I thought, oh, I'll adopt that one, and I did.
Yeah, damn right.
There's 3 little girls' lives depending on me. And if I can help, as a wider picture, if I can help others to help their little girls and boys, and their little girls and boys, and their grandchildren, that is my role. That is my job. And God help them, if I've ever got money behind me, and I'm not, as long as they didn't have any control, I'm not really proud where I get it from. So I could get off the Bilderbergs. I'd love to spend my money against them.
Okay, I've got a very interesting question here from Chris Hardy, which does relate to some of the religious stuff that we were discussing a second ago. Are these elites, stroke Bilderbergers, really evil, or do they just know something that we all don't about the possibility? Hold on, Alan. Hear this out. Listen to the rest of this.
I'm reading.
Or listen. Oh, well, you may be listening, but other people may not be. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read it out. Or do they just know something that we all don't about the possibility of some biblical event that may decimate Earth, like in the book of Revelation, for example? It sounds crazy, but it all fits together. Yellowstone going off, for example. That's from Chris Hardy. What do you think about that?
It's actually on the bubble at the moment. It's a bit worrying, that one. Let's not digress onto Yellowstone.
No, sure. But do they, for example, do they know about aliens, disclosure, stuff like that?
I know a lot about this.
Piers, hold on. One at a time. Alan.
Yeah, sorry. From the people, I've got, people that I know, people that are online at the moment, some of them, they specialise in their own research areas, and they cross-fertilise with me all the time, every single. There are areas I don't have the time to look at. Yeah, no, me too. Within sort of the New World Order, but you're getting onto the satanic route. Right.
No, I wasn't, but nonetheless, that is something that is also very pertinent. It's an interesting topic as well.
But somebody used the word evil.
Yes,
now,
yes. That's right. Chris Hardy did.
From my point of view, it's very simple. I'm atheist, so I don't believe in a deity, a god, right? Mm-hmm. But millions of people across the planet who do. Whatever their name is, whatever their religion is, they do. That's their business.
Right.
But likewise, if you mirror that, I don't believe there's such a person as Satan. But there are people who follow are Satanists. And that's the difference. And the people, this New World Order, the Illuminati as they're called, they operate on satanic distortions, but by following the Bible. And you can track it, a lot of it. And I can hear that Piers knows about this stuff.
He does. Piers, chip in.
I do. I mean, it's a vast subject and needs several hours worth of discussion, really. But I think, if I can sort of surmise this as quickly as I can.
Are the Bilderbergers lizards?
No. I don't believe the David.
That was a misquote.
I don't believe the David Icke idea that the Queen is a shape-shifting reptilian alien, for example.
David Icke is his own worst enemy.
Yeah.
I think he's right about a lot. Of stuff.
He is. Most of it, practically all of it.
But I don't believe that. I mean, I do. Put it this way: the etheric. I mean, why are there books in the British Library that are in unrestricted access about black magic and things like that? It's all about the nature of reality. I think reality is physical reality is an expression of consciousness, and our collective consciousness has the overriding. Paints the overriding picture, if you like. So we're all directly responsible for creating the reality we live in, and that's the esoteric knowledge that the powers that be know, and the reason why they constantly manipulate us in terms of our belief structures and thought mechanisms is because they know that if they manipulate what we think and how we think, they can create the destiny that they choose. That is what it's all about, and magic, if you want to call it that, plays into this recipe. It's all to do, with these incantations, these strange rituals, out at, what's that place in they all go to, that strange place in the woods in North California. What's it called? Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove, yeah.
They go and worship a great big owl. Moloch or whatever, and dress up in robes and perform weird ceremonies and rituals.
Yeah.
All this stuff is to do with the it's to do with the manipulation of.
And that's documented. That's documented. So politicians go off to Bohemian Grove and they worship an owl.
But why do you think all the House of Lords dress up in red robes and they have all these?
Why do all the guys in the Catholic Church wear fish heads?
Yeah, I mean that's to do with all sorts of crazy stuff that we could go into. But I mean, there's a statue in Vatican City, which I'll tell you what. It seems that mankind used to be far more telepathically attuned. We could all sort of it's a bit like nature. If you look around you, there's a lot of species out there that seem to be telepathically linked. Whether it's birds swarming or fish shoaling or whatever, or the fact that all animals in Yellowstone will ultimately react to an earthquake, or somebody in a local area will pick up on that earthquake, and then they'll all start to sort of flee the area, even though they might have not actually felt anything themselves. They sense something because they're tapping into some sort of collective consciousness. I mean,
hang on a minute. I'm sorry. I'm not. I didn't come online to have some expansive. I'm not disagreeing with it, but we've wandered so way off the topic.
I don't think we have. No, we haven't. Because these are precisely the kind of things. These are precisely the kind of things that are behind the curtain. So actually, no, I think we're absolutely on topic. If I may.
So far behind the curtain that you lose the mass audience.
Okay, that's another issue. Yep, you could be right there.
What does an individual care? What does anybody I go out on the street now? Actually, there's only sheep and a boar wandering around at the moment. We've got wild boar here. They wander.
Oh wow!
I don't think that's Cyril. But you can pinpoint this, and this is what I do in my presentations. When I'm actually talking to an audience, when the questions are stimulated, and these are things that people bring out of the news, they've read the hearsay, and somebody's told them in the pub, all the garbage that they've been fed by the bloody politicians on TV and on interviews that don't drill down far enough, I can pinpoint that person and say to, sir, Do you receive a state pension? Yes. Do you receive a private pension? Yes. Do you receive any sort of benefits? And you can focus down on people like that, and you can say, well, here's what the European Union has planned for you. And you can actually follow through the logic. And while you're talking to one person, you've got 60 or 70 more in the room that are receiving either a state pension or a private pension, or they're getting some form of benefit. These are what matter to the people. Their family, their roof over their head, their poverty. Everything else is kind of instruction. And as Linda liaised with me.
This show is still interested in it, though, Alan. I agree. I hear what you say.
Everything else is academic background and knowledge. I've got people out there.
No, it's also defining. It's also defining the kind of characters that are trying to control us, and that is crucial to know.
But you lose people as soon as you say that.
Yes, you do.
Why did except for the misquote?
Although
he never said.
Alan does have a point. I mean, I think what we're
I agree. I agree. I agree with him as well.
Right. I mean, if you want to, as a host of this show, who's trying to grow an audience, you know, we have to be the way we talk about certain sort of very weird esoteric stuff is, you know, I mean, people do tend to sort of like switch off mentally. If
are you suggesting that I'm not going to attract Jacob Rees-Mogg as a guest on this show because we're talking about lizards?
Hang on. Does it matter if you attract Jacob Rees-Mogg?
Yes,
really?
It does.
Why?
It does. Because he's a very important guy. He's got a lot to say, which is very important. A lot of people are very interested to hear what he's got to say. But that isn't to say that he is the be-all and end-all as a guest, though. No. He would not discuss these kind of things, which are, useful to hear.
You're putting now these very important people, more important, in your own words, than the people that are watching this transition.
I didn't say that, and they weren't my words.
That's the way it came over.
Okay, well, that's perception. That's not what I said.
Right. I'm not interested in the buzzwords and the politicians that are buzzing and preaching to everybody. I actually like Jacob Rees-Mogg. I like what he says. But there's a limit to idolising these people. There's a lot of people...
I would like to ask him, Alan, I would like to ask him, as my guest, if he is a Bilderberger. I don't think that's an unfair question to ask.
I'll answer your question. The reason he'll never be Prime Minister is, right, his father was a Bilderberg, okay? If you know that, his father was a Bilderberg.
Right.
Jacob Rees-Mogg is not a Bilderberg. I don't think he wants to be a Bilderberg, but he knows if he moves to the front benches, he's going to have to be a Bilderberg. Jacob Rees-Mogg is a nugget. He's a gold gem on the backbenches of the Tory party.
He seems to be.
Oh, he's one of those genuine people.
I hope so.
On the side, you've got people like Kate Hoey. I mean, Kate Hoey is his equivalent on the Labour side. She is a real Bennite. Bless her heart, she's
Is Farage a Bilderberger?
He's a Freemason.
He's a Freemason.
He's a Freemason of the City of London.
Yes.
Oh, well, that doesn't help.
No.
He's in the lodge. Well, my uncle my godfather was a master mason in the City of London, Moorgate. So I learned all about the boys up there from a very high level. I'm not a Freemason. I've invited four times now, 3 times. But the last one was actually somebody who I tweaked on very quickly, wanted to take control of me. And people who know me know I'm not easily controlled.
No, I found that out.
On the positive side, I think outside the box.
Yes.
On the negative side, I'm called the loose cannon.
That's all right.
And I don't.
You've got three of us on this show. 3 loose cannons. Okay.
No, I'm unbudgeable. But I'm also...
I mean, I like listening to Farage making speeches in the European Parliament. And,
yes.
I mean...
Can you take a point on that, though? What did I say to you earlier about the European Parliament? You could dance naked on the table and nothing happens.
Oh, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so he's just...
We've all seen these wonderful speeches. I think they're brilliant. He's arguably the best orator in politics today. I couldn't dispute
Farage.
Yes, I've been to his presentations. I've been to the big gigs, one in Gloucester, one in Basingstoke, and other places on different hats, UKIP or Grassroots Out. I've been to these things. He is a brilliant speaker, but it's not. And in the run-up to referendum, I'm going to be very fair to Nigel Farage from this point of view. He was the only politician on television that told the whole truth.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's the only one that I could say didn't lie about anything.
Rephrase that, because I need to make a point on that. Everything that Nigel Farage said publicly and on television was the truth. My reservation on that is, and me and a number of other people noticed in the run-up to the 2015 general election, it wasn't the whole truth. The purpose I set up Britain's United for was to expose the stuff that even Nigel Farage and even UKIP will not talk about, and still to this day will not talk about.
Such as Bilderberg. I want to ask.
And our ability
hold on.
to be able to walk out. We can walk out. We're not strictly legally members. We can just walk away. That's what we should do. Why the hell aren't people talking about that?
we've covered that. I want to ask though, is somebody classed as a Bilderberger just because they go to one of the events? Because that seems to me a bit of a superficial definition, if so. How do you define, Alan, how do you define that most of that front bench cabinet are Bilderbergers, or maybe they just went to one to, I don't know, get some canapes, I don't know.
You don't do that. It's too closed shop. Can you imagine? I'm sure
they have had infiltrators. We do know that.
Yeah, I know.
They're not necessarily all bad just because they went to Bilderberg. I mean, if you're on the Bilderberg steering committee like Ken Clark was, then I would say, whoa, that is some serious stuff.
And incidentally, Ollie, the guy who was accused Ken Clark, Ben Fellows, his name was.
Ben Fellows.
Ken Clark of molestation when he was working.
Carlton.
On
Cook Report.
He was acquitted. They didn't charge Ben Fellows for distorting the course of justice. And he was interviewed outside the court after that trial, where Clark even had the cheek to turn up and he did. He turned up and stood his corner and said it was all nonsense. Fellows was held in prison, for a long time. And harassed beyond belief by the police and the establishment for having made these accusations. And then when he was finally acquitted, they asked him outside the court, "Do you stand by what you said?" And he said, "Yes, I do, but I want to have nothing further to do with it because my life has been a living hell ever since I saw this."
That's right.
Right, I can bring another person in, which I've actually managed to publish some of his stuff. There's a man called David Noakes, who back in the days when Ike was talking about reptilians, not lizards, reptilians,
right?
And aliens, and all the stuff that he let his ego get run away with. He's put a lot of people off. And I'm the son of God. I know all about that.
Yeah.
There was another guy called David Noakes, and David Noakes was publishing exactly the same sort of thing, but in a different way. And he exposed many Bilderbergs and their involvement. And some of the things he says are absolutely, you think, my God, outrageous. What happened to David Noakes was that they put in a victimisation campaign, not just on him, but they actually put children into his children's school to start a bullying campaign. And in the end, David Noakes effectively was exiled to south of France. He had a bit of wonga. So he set up a yacht hiring company, and he went into exile for years and years and years. He's now back in the country, but you won't get a word out of him.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the way they do it.
It sounds like the guys that produced Scallywag magazine that exposed, what's his name, the former Tory treasurer guy who just died. He was accused of being a paedophile more recently as well. Portillo was accused in there.
Leon Britton?
No. Scallywag wrote about, I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. But anyway, these guys that set up Scallywag, it was a bit like Private Eye, not as sort of satirical. It was dead, it was pretty hardcore. They had to run off to South America, and they still are. I think one of them's still there, basically in hiding.
John Major had them shut down because they published an article about him having an affair with Edwina Curry, and he said that he sued them for libel and won, and then it was obviously proved later on that it was all true.
Alan, you gasped when Piers mentioned John Major.
We're talking about academic debate on background information that's historic, whereas we should be talking about what's in our face here and now.
Well, carry on then. We're talking about behind the curtain. If you didn't know, that's the theme of the show. But please, give us your point.
If you want to wander that far behind the curtain, I'll just trot off and get on with talking to other people.
Well, we're all going to trot off in a few minutes. But, I mean, I agree with you, but it's difficult. Where do you start with this? And when you look at if you're looking, it's like in The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? And they open the curtain and there's the bloke behind there. Unfortunately, with this, the curtain's enormous. And what's behind it, most of it we don't know for sure. Let's face it. None of us can be sure.
If you meet a man in a cafe anywhere, in Valencia, in London, sit down, you engage in a conversation with this man. If you start talking to him about the New World Order, the Illuminati,
they think you're nuts.
Behind all the red cloaks and all the paedophilia campaigns, you'll lose him in minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
If you identify that person's personal interest, in what ways maybe he voted Remain, if you drill very quickly, you'll find out he didn't have the information. He guessed. Loads of Remain voters, in fact, loads of Leave voters.
Yep, absolutely. Both sides misinformed.
Through lack of knowledge and education. And both of you guys will agree, knowledge is power.
Yep.
And what I've been trying to do is get knowledge out to the people with no funding.
I think the
give me
folks...
the funding, I'll hit 3 million people in no time. But that's why I'm approaching people for funding.
It's a difficult thing to get funding for.
Looking at these comments, I've got to tell you, a lot of folks, they are actually pretty clued on. And I think our audience is maybe ready to turn the next page and have a look. But I know that this is very, very difficult stuff. And stuff, by the way, that I have to tell you, I do not have the answers to. But all I see are lots and lots of questions. And I do. I do think that they should be explored. We're talking about the EU. If we were talking about religion, I would say that things that need to be explored, for example, are the archives under the Vatican. They should be scoured. We should know what's there. That's our heritage. Just saying. I know it's a different thing, but my point is that there is a curtain here, and there's a lot of stuff behind it. We don't know what's real and what isn't. And this is a pretty general discussion around that, Alan.
I know what's real and what isn't. I've been doing this for 7 years.
All right, can I put something to you, Alan? This is more of a conspiratorial question, but you're talking about how the EU model was based on, the Fourth Reich. What do you believe? What are your thoughts about the contention that Hitler basically didn't die at the end of the Second World War, faked his own death, went to Argentina?
The best I can put on that.
Chris Tarrant did a train show on Channel 5 quite recently, and he was on one of these trains in Argentina, and they were saying, "Oh, this is the train that Hitler used to ride on after the Second World War." And there's all these stories, and obviously then you've just had this huge hoard of Nazi stuff found behind a bookshelf somewhere.
Lots of Nazis went off and tried to South America. Whether Hitler was one of them, I don't know. And to be blunt, I don't really care. Because he's either 96 years old now or he's dead.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty irrelevant. But on the other hand, I say that respectfully. It's a nice little bit of an aside.
He could have retained some degree of influence.
What we do know is that Operation Paperclip. So these guys, that were basically, you know, Nazi criminals, killers, murderers, whatever, complicit, instead of being tried at Nuremberg, a lot of them were shipped into the US under Operation Paperclip and they set up things like the CIA. Ex-Nazis set up the CIA. They set up NASA. They set up NASA, the rocket science that they had developed in the Second World War. Please, Alan, please, wait, sir, please. I will only was. Go on. You disagree with me?
Everybody that knows me, I'm taking a walk because he's talking about stuff that doesn't affect us in the European Union.
But it does, because look at Alan, your profile picture has a swastika behind the EU flag. The same folks that set up the EU set up institutions. I'm only saying it because we know that former Nazis have been granted some kind of asylum and helped to develop their projects and to be very, very involved geopolitically. No?
I'm not going to get digressed onto stories over there about the CIA, the FBI, the Illuminati, or any of that. I know a lot of this stuff. I'm not going to get drawn into debate. We have an enemy. The enemy is across the river, across the sea in Brussels.
Yes.
We have a fifth column operating in the UK, running our government. We need to focus. And basically everything else has to come about in debate and conversation. But
well, that's what this is.
Yeah, it's become a chit-chat. You know, Nigel Farage's radio show on LBC has become a chit-chat. He never focuses on anything to do with the European Union, which is why he was voted for, elected and followed by millions of people. I don't even listen to LBC because it talks about any subjects other than the European Union. The people in this country need to be told very clearly who their enemies are.
Yes, they do.
And then expand on, they can ask the questions, because every time you give somebody a subject, and I've had this through experience of presenting to people, it stimulates a question. Once people ask the question, somebody else has a question, somebody else has a question.
There's a lot of questions on the comments, and people are interested in some of this stuff, you know. But I agree with you, though. Alan, I agree with you. I agree that the core message is leaving or getting out, or basically getting away from this dangerous club, this insane, maniacal club. I agree with that. But on the other hand, if I did that twice a week forever, I think I'd go berserk. There has to be more variety.
You think you'd go berserk because you're trying to save your country?
I think that this is an enormous topic that is much bigger, actually, than just the EU. We discussed this show yesterday, you and I told you that so far as I was concerned, this Brexit deal is it just happens to be the biggest, the most important battle in this anti-globalization war, in this anti-Bilderberg war. And you didn't disagree with me yesterday with that. I mean, that is what I think. That's why I'm involved in this debate. As much as I love Britain and I want Brexit, I mean, blood me, it's truth. The EU is anathema to everything I believe in. It's anti-democratic. But this is only one of the battlegrounds going on around this planet, this Brexit thing. No?
I can't deal with who gets elected in the USA, so I didn't get involved in the Trump Hillary issue.
Right.
I watched it, I learned from it, I studied it, I watched CNN and all the other crap stations, so I watched it, but I didn't get involved. I sat back and didn't get involved because I'm focused on Brussels.
Fair play.
And keeping that focus. You say you wouldn't like to do it 2 days a week, twice a week, because you'd go mad. I would do it 5 days a week because it's a war and it's got to be won.
I think the big picture needs to be considered as well, is my point.
You're bringing in the big picture before people know the little picture. That's
well, I think you underestimate the audience, and all I can suggest to people.
No.
Okay. Whoa, Alan. Let's not talk about editorial policy. Let's agree to disagree on your group, I do not tell you how to run your group, and I wouldn't do, please, sir. I'm so grateful for the knowledge that you can give us, but I don't see any point in having an editorial. But then again, having said that, your point actually is that this distracts. That's your point, isn't it? It's a distraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good argument. I agree with that.
Look around you and fire an Uzi and not hit your target, or you can focus like a sniper exactly at the target. As soon as you're looking over there, you're letting the enemy advance on you from the front, and they're very, very close at the moment.
That is a good argument. I cannot disagree. But Piers, what do you think of that?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
You know what, guys? We have gone a couple of hours with this, and it's been really, really awesome. And I just want to say thank you very, very much indeed. Alan Ashwood and Piers Garnham, thank you so much for coming on the show today and for having a bit of a chat about this.
It was very interesting, and Alan, you are a very informed and erudite guy, and I'd love to hear more. I mean, like, we should do this again sometime.
Well, look, there's your challenge. Gather your dozen or so very intelligent friends. I will come up to London and I will destroy every single argument they can put up to stay in the European Union.
What an idea.
That's it. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's contributed today, and I apologise for not having read all of your comments, but there have been so many of them. Too many. Thank you very, very, very much indeed. And the debate's over, Alan. We can continue this. We can continue this. Go on. What were you going to say? Yeah. Look, this is a fast-moving show. I mean, that's the way it is. Alan Ashwood, thank you so much. Piers Garnham, thank you so much. You've been watching the Daily Brexit. God bless you. Thank you. I'll tell you, I'm just trying to work out how to turn this thing off. When, okay, I'm getting lots of error messages, folks. Lots of error messages. When I go to bend the feed here, it's coming up too low video frame rate. Okay, I'll look into this. Folks. Ooh, that's it. Right, okay. Ciao, folks. God bless you. Thank you. And, yeah, that's it.